Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I am a member of the Special Select Committee. I need not say much. I believe the chairperson will be responding to some of the issues. But I just want to draw the attention of this August Assembly that I am somewhat surprised and even worried to some extent to hear some positions that are sometimes even contradictory. But we are faced with a situation that has two approaches. One approach is that COVID-19 is here, already in the Gambia. The numbers are negligible, they are insignificant compared to what is happening in next door Senegal. They said we've registered one death, and we have more than 23, 24 cases. That's a small number. But the approach is that let's leave it. Let's drop our guards. Let's allow the people to enjoy the comfort, business as usual. And this disease is such that it starts small and then it surges. And epidemics are like that. They start small and then they reach a peak. And the approach is that let's allow it to go, erupt, reach the peak. And we are being given prognosis by health officials that the peak period might be around June, July, August. And if things get worse, we might have 181,000 people infected, and out of this, 20% would require hospitalization. This number, 181,000, and then 5% of 181,000 might die. And I think somebody has given the calculation 9,000 plus, even 5,000. You don't know who is going to be part of it. Even one person is life. But I mean, if it's 5,000, you don't know whether you're going to be part of it. So we can allow that to happen, so that it will come up with the casualties. If you are part of it, then you are part of it. This is one approach. Is this a responsible approach? Well, that's up to us to decide. The other approach is that COVID is here, but we have heard from the scientists, the medical workers, that this is a science. It is a virus that does not travel. It's transmitted through people. It's unlike the mosquito, the malaria. That is the mosquito taking plasmodium, injecting one person, and then you are infected. This is transmitted through our interaction, close contacts, through transmission of our fluid from our mouth or nose. But if we distance ourselves, the virus does not survive long outside. There are positions that say 2 days, 3 days. But whatever the case, it does not survive long outside. And even with the infected person, because the situation here is that with COVID-19, many people will survive it. 80% survive, they survive it. And how they survive it, is, as we all know, there is no treatment as of now. There is no drug to cure it. There is no vaccine to prevent it, to prevent people from being infected. But your system can enjoy it, and then it disappears. You develop antibodies, it disappears. So if it is not surviving outside, it will be compromised by your system. Your system will compromise the virus. So you cannot transmit it. So with this, eventually, disease will not be around. So that's the scientific approach, that's the advice we've got. This is also an approach that we can take. But this requires foregoing, not rights, but there are certain comfortable things, comfort, convenience. We have to forgo some of this just to save ourselves and save others. And this is by social distancing. This is the advice we've got from the experts, medical officials, scientists. This is an approach that we can also take. So it is up to us to decide which of the approaches we should take. If we apply social distancing, and by the way, there is no lockdown as such in this country, because even with the regulations, they allow people to go about their normal businesses, but just to observe social distancing. This is the position. Personal sanitization, hand sanitization, and then social distancing. This is all that it is being asked. And the regulations are addressing that. Of course, because COVID-19 is health, but it also have ramifications on society, on economy, on livelihoods. And that's why they're talking about the impact of physical distancing on our livelihoods. So some regulations are addressing that. I think it is important for us to hear from the health workers. The Minister of Health should tell us, in addition to whatever information, as to how to go about this thing from this stage. They're talking about, the committee is recommending for an extension, but for a shorter period than what the executive is asking. So the Minister of Health, you can get information from the Minister of Health to tell us why we need an extension. Because they are the experts. Let's not relegate them. They are key in this. The regulations, the precautions, like I said, they have some implications. Yesterday, a head teacher, a school head, called me to tell me that when you go to Parliament, please encourage your colleagues to open up the schools, because the children are safer in the schools than in their homes, in the neighborhoods. Because for her, the objective of closing the schools is to avoid interaction, close contact. But that's what is happening in their neighborhoods, in their homes, households. So that is our suggestion. So these are issues that we can talk about. Is it safe to allow our kids to go back to school? Is it possible to maintain social distancing in the schools? A school, you can see overcrowded classrooms, more than 50 pupils in a classroom. 70. Is it possible to do it? So we have to be realistic. How can we apply social distancing and allow some of these things to proceed? So these are the things that should really exercise our minds. But we must not drop our guards. COVID-19 is real. It kills. Even if it is one life, it's a life that's worth living. Even if it is a non-Gambian, it is a life that is worth living. It's a life. Life is life. It does not record nationality. It's life. And it's within our territory. It's our duty to protect every life in this country, Gambian, non-Gambian. So Gambia is not spared. We have lost one life. It has been told, it has been said over and over again, that our health system is really not well positioned to accommodate the surge that is predicted, that when you reach the peak, it's going to be catastrophic. That is why they are advising that in order to break the chain of transmission, let us apply social distancing. Well, the chair will talk about that. When the religious leaders came before us, they were asked, somebody said, they were asked, is it possible for you to go to the mosques, pray, but yet ensure that every person who is coming, every worshipper, washes his or her hand for entering and also observe social distancing. This was asked. And who's going to enforce that? This was also asked. Is there the organization? Is there the capacity to do this? The essence is social distancing. The lack of enforcement of the regulations due to the lack of capacity of the enforcement agencies, the lack of enforcement adherence to the regulations by the population due to either defiance or unawareness does not mean that social distancing cannot save us. Social distancing is the key, and it's our duty as representatives of the people to be promoting it. It is our duty to be promoting social distancing. We have a role. But, well, of course, you can hear representatives standing here saying that, well, it would not work. People would not adhere to it. So therefore, let's debunk it. I don't think that's the position that we should take. It's important to highlight challenges, that if we do this, these are the challenges. So what are we going to do to address challenges? That's fine. It's our duty to say that, well, if you do this, we're going to violate rights, because, as indicated very clearly, restrictions, these regulations should not violate fundamental rights. We must ensure that we safeguard the rights. They should be, to the extent that they are democratic, there are rules or regulations that are acceptable in a democratic society. That is, they don't violate basic rights. But if they don't do that, just asking you, when you go to the market, maintain safe distancing. Because the argument, in fact, councils have a role to play, this committee have a role to play. But they are not enforcing. In fact, what we've discovered is ownership. You are an implementing authority. You own it, and it's the councils, the security. There's a committee established under the Ministry of Trade. These are the three key enforcement bodies that should ensure that regulations are enforced. There are challenges we've discussed, as highlighted in the report, in terms of mobility, in terms of materials, equipment. How do you address that? But that should not be an excuse of non-action. So basically, that is what I wanted to say. And then it was also indicated, like there's a challenge. Somebody the other day asked me, well, they have banned motorbicycles from carrying passengers. Except, because that was his position. I told him, no, they can carry if it is health-related emergencies. But he told me that, well, you know, I live far away from my workplace, and my son works with me. The guy is a tailor, and we close very late at night. But when I am going home, the boy cannot board to transport, because I don't have the means to pay for fares for him to go to his home, because it's a far away place, we're very far away from each other. So is it possible, and this guy is suggesting this, I'm just throwing this to you, is it possible for them to allow, because we are from the same compound, he is with me all the time. From the home we are together, from the workplace we are together, and then back home. So there is no possibility of me infecting him or her. Well, that's his position. That's not always the case. So he was suggesting, is it possible for the regulations to allow riders to produce document that this is my son, this is birth certificate, we are from the same compound, to produce evidence that this guy is it's not a passenger that I'm carrying. It's from the same family. So we are together. So I think these are things that, we can think around to see how this is possible. And the other day also, a guy who runs the video club is telling me that I am renting an apartment with my wife, and we depended on this video club. I'm also renting the video club. But the owner of the video club, the owner of the company where the video club is, and the apartment where I'm staying, they're different, have given me notice to vacate. But I am not earning. So what can be done in that regard? The councils, where are they collecting licenses from these people? The government, GRA, where are they collecting? What sort of support can be given to boy? I told them that, well, you see, the problem also with you is that they don't have document. There's no data regarding those that are operating in the informal sector. So that's also a challenge. But these are things that we can think around, see how relief can come if there is the resources. Because I just don't want to push for relief and then we have the resources. So, but these are the things, these are some of the challenges that people are really, encountering. How do we address them? So, like I said, to conclude, we need an extension. We need an extension, and the committee had recommended a period that it has to go with enforcement. All the enforcing agencies, the police, the councils, should really engage, should try to get all the tools that are needed to be able to enforce these regulations. And they are not hard, they are not difficult to comply with, some of them. Like in the markets, there is even this suggestion that if markets are congested, there might be open fields, there might be football fields, so to speak, open areas where you can transfer some of the traders, just to ensure that there's this the congestion. Wherever there is the will, there is a way. And I want us to master the will. If we master the will, we will find a way. Honorable Speaker, that's what I'm telling my colleagues, that we have a key role to play in this. We have a constituents to represent, and the constituents are constituency-based, and also the nation. The nation is the constituency of each and every one of us, as well as our constituencies. But we are at this trying time. The population needs us. How do we ensure that COVID-19 does not claim any other life in this country? It may be difficult, but it's also possible. And I would urge every Gambian to prepare his or her mind that when you are in given situations, in order to be able to emerge out of it unhurt, unscathed, prepare for the worst. It might not end up being something, a worse scenario at the end of the day. This situation can continue until the vaccine is discovered or a drug is discovered. This situation, I mean, the present situation, with one case, one casualty, and then these cases, it's highly unlikely, but it's also possible. But let us prepare for the worst. Ensure that our healthcare system, after this, the healthcare system in the country after this becomes fit for purpose. It's robust, it's efficient, it's effective, and it's resilient. That is why when we supported the commitment of those resources, 500 million, into the health system, to ensure that after COVID-19, somebody had said it here, those who, because a huge chunk of our budget goes for treatment of civil servants abroad, foreign treatment, Minister of Health. We want that to stop. And we believe that this amount that we are pumping is going to address that. That after this, no Gambian, particularly, of course, private Gambians can go out if they wish, if they have the resources. But those that are serving government would not have the cost to go for treatment abroad. Our system, our infrastructure, the healthcare delivery system is in such a state that you will get all that you need in terms of treatment. It will be accessible, it will be of quality, and it will be affordable. That is our wish, and this is an opportunity. This is the window of opportunity for us. It's an opportunity that we can realize this. But we must be focused as a nation, work as a nation, work as a team to save our nation. COVID-19 can be defeated. We are at war. We are technically at war. But we are fighting an enemy that is invincible. But it's an enemy that we don't know much about, but we know how to defeat it. And it is through social distancing, through, like they say, hand sanitization, cleanliness, generally, basic hygiene.
Thank you.
And of course, the relief can come wherever it is biting hard. The government can come up with that. Of course, National Assembly can assist in that. But if we go by the precautions given by the WHO and the Minister of Health of the Gambia, we will be able to save our population from this.
Thank you.
On that, Honorable Speaker, I want to assume myself.
Thank you. Yeah, Honorable Member for Upper Fuladu West. Just to remind, time is of the essence. It's getting to 2 o'clock.